Welcome to the Insert Philosophy Here podcast. Inserting the principles of philosophy into real life. Way back in episode 12 of this podcast, I did an episode entitled What Lurks Behind Conspiracy Theories. It was my philosophy of conspiracy theories. And it proves to be the most popular episode of my podcast. And when I did a YouTube video of it, it turned out to be the most popular YouTube video on the Insert Philosophy Here YouTube channel. And when I published it to text version of my Medium website, that proved to be the single most popular article on my Medium account. And I think that's wonderful because I think we should be talking about conspiracy theories, their power, their influence, and what we can do to understand them and deal with them because they are a very big part of politics and society. But one of the things that is commonly said by people who watch the video is they say, oh, but some conspiracy theories are true, and then they say things like, well, rich people do stuff. Well, that's not what I mean by conspiracy theories. And if they had fully listened to the podcast episode or the video or fully read the article that I wrote, they would understand that I was making a distinction between a conspiracy theory and an exercise of power, because they are different. But I feel the need to do an episode here, especially this election season, where everyone is very interested in conspiracy theories and their power and how we should deal with them, to explain this distinction in more detail between a conspiracy theory, which is something that people believe, versus an exercise of power, which is something that people in power do. And this fits very well with my recent book, Left-Wing, Right-Wing People and Power, which was the previous episode of this podcast, where I talk about how power is the core of political action. So in my explanation here of just clarifying what the real issue here is, what is a conspiracy theory, and how when you say, oh, corporations and governments and powerful people do things, talking about that is not a conspiracy theory. There is a difference. So here is my response to that idea. The claim that powerful people in industry and government are engaged in conspiracies, they're out to get us, is incorrect. And here's why that's incorrect. These people are pointing to something that is important. People in power do use their power and abuse their power to the detriment of other people. That's very true. I'm not denying that for a second. But what these people are putting their fingers on is the difference between a conspiracy theory and people exercising power, what I will call PEP. So what is power? And we need to discuss that first. In simple terms, there are two types of power: hard power and soft power. Hard power, or predominantly economic power, is the control of land and resources, including money and personnel, and the power to enact policies, either through economic power or political power. Those are hard powers. Soft power, or social power, is the capacity to affect social recognition norms and people's perceptions and interests. Soft power is usually understood as the power of media, the power of culture, the power of messaging, and control of the narrative. Hard power and soft power are inextricably intertwined in human society, all human societies. For example, a marginalized minority group is deprived of both hard and soft, both economic and social power. Seldom, if ever, only one or the other. Economic power gives one social power. Hard power enables soft power. A fundamental truth about power is that people with power will exercise that power. I mean, what's the point of having power if you don't use it? People with power will take advantage of their greater access to economic resources and their greater ability to influence society, especially the media, control of the narrative. Those who have power will often exercise it to maintain and increase their power. Power breeds power and a craving for more power. The difference between conspiracy theories and people exercising power is that they are different expressions of power, and therefore different manipulations of soft power. They are each in their own ways self-aggrandizing efforts to separate society into different factions. The character and the goals of that separation are quite different. So, people exercising power, PEPs, are not CTs. PEPs are almost inevitable consequences of concentrations of power. The old adage applies that power corrupts, and yes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Machiavelli was onto something about how power is as power does, and power needs to act to maintain itself. Power must constantly defend itself from the loss of power. This is what we see in people exercising power, PEPs. That in no way excuses unethical and illegal activities by powerful people and corporations. It only explains what is behind these actions, why people are doing this. Having power increases one's opportunities for ethical and legal abuses, and ethical and legal good things too. We see that all the time, throughout all of history and in all human societies. Power exercises power. But these abuses of power are not conspiracies, as a conspiracy theorist peddler uses the term. There is a legal term, conspiracy, used to define illegal exercises of power. Former President Trump has been indicted with conspiracy charges, but his treasonous acts are PEPs. They do not fall under the character and goals of a CT, a conspiracy theory. Like all PEPs, Trump's acts were self-serving attempts to deny power to others with the goal of preserving his own power. People exercising power. A conspiracy theory is an accusation against someone else and a claim that you have figured out a secret that normal people have not. There are 3 dimensions to every conspiracy theory. This repeats my earlier podcast and video. Paranoia that one is being persecuted, arrogance that one possesses superior knowledge, and a cliquish relationship with CT believers that comes from the belief in their superior knowledge. Conspiracy theories are sold. They are a marketable commodity. CTs are propagated and sometimes invented by people not to maintain or increase their hard or social power, so much as simply to make money or simply feel less bad about themselves and their lack of power in society. In my earlier podcast, I described that conspiracy theories are driven by 2 different types of people. CT merchants, who I label conspiracy artists, and earnest meaning seekers. The CT merchants are con artists who make money off of people by selling conspiracy theories and materials about them. The earnest meaning seekers are the marks, the victims of the con artists, who buy the conspiracy theories and the materials supporting them. It's a con, it's a sales job, it's a snow job, it's an economic activity. Selling and buying of conspiracy theories is not power exercising power, but is a set of acts coming from a place of a lack of power. A CT is an example of what Friedrich Nietzsche called slave morality. Lacking power, Earnest meaning seekers will gravitate toward believing reasons for their lack of power. Of course, blame somebody else. CTs evolved to fill that need. They are stories of deep, dark, secretive plots that explain why one lacks power. And of course, believing in the conspiracy theory is the self-deception that one possesses superior knowledge. One sees through all of this deep, dark, secretive plot. The secretive aspect of conspiracy theories is a core difference from people exercising power. A PEP is a naked exercise of power. It's not hidden. It's, hey, I am powerful, I can push you around. The CT merchants, the conspiracy artists, and their earnest meaning seeker believers are crying out for attention. PEPs usually have no need to draw attention to it, no need to figure something out and some deep dark secret that needs to be discovered and exposed, and no need to sell the belief in it to others. Power is. Power acts. People exercising power aren't advertising what they do, but they aren't hiding it either. True, they may try to minimize their legal exposure, and I point to the example of organized crime. Pretty much everyone knows who's in the organization and what they do. It's a conspiracy in the legal sense, but not a conspiracy theory. It's a PEP. Then there is the simple matter that the vast majority of conspiracy theories are complete nonsense without truth. No, NASA didn't fake the moon landings. No, the COVID vaccines didn't kill more people than COVID did. No, the Pope is not a secret Satan worshiper. No, Jews do not control the world. No, the military doesn't have crashed alien spaceships. No, black people aren't plotting to replace white people, and so on and so on and so on ad nauseum. It's nonsense. It's a set of lies. That's the nature of a conspiracy theory. But PEPs exercising a power, these are real exercises of power. Dictators are oppressing and imprisoning people. Crime bosses are extorting from people. Corporations are exploiting workers and consumers, and so on ad nauseum. And it's out there in the open, naked power exercising its power. PEPs, the people in power, do exploit conspiracy theories and their believers and even actively cultivate them. It is a strategy to have oppressed peoples believing in deep, dark, secretive conspiracy theories to distract them from the real naked exercises of power that are actually going on. Pay no attention to what the people with actual power are doing. Be afraid of the boogeymen in CTs about NASA and Jews and blacks and aliens and whatever. In a previous podcast, I've talked about what is termed political populism is in actuality conspiracy theory mongering, and this is a section in my recent book as well. In these cases, selling conspiracy theories are evidence of people exercising power. That political reality, for example, the absurd white replacement theory of immigrants are coming into our country and going to wipe out the white race, is why some people mistake PEPs for CTs. Anyway, my thinking on these topics continues to develop, but I hope this helps to clarify the issue. The difference between a conspiracy theory and a PEP, people exercising power, is twofold. The conspiracy theory is directed at something else, someone else. Over there, some deep, dark entity is doing deep, dark, secretive things. But people exercising power is open, it's blatant. Any subterfuge that's going on is simply to avoid the consequences and accountability for the exercises of power. And yes, conspiracy theories lack any tangible evidence or tangible realities to them. There's zero evidence that there are chemtrails, but people believe in chemtrails. The idea of a chemtrail as a secret government program to spray chemicals in the air, that's a conspiracy theory because there's nothing to it. And it's, again, an accusation. Somebody else is doing something. Well, I can't prove it, but it's happening. People exercising power are like Trump, like organized crime, like Putin invading Ukraine. It's there in front of us all. We can see it, we can smell it, we know it's there. That corporations are trying to manipulate markets, manipulate workers, manipulate consumers, that's obvious. That's real. They don't really deny it. No one really denies it. It's just people exercising power. Are they colluding? Yes. Is it a conspiracy theory to talk about it? No. I encourage people to think about these topics. I encourage people to give me feedback. That's what this podcast episode is all about, because people get in contact with me at insertphilosophyhere.com and tell me what they think. And I love that. I really appreciate the emails and the messages, because I do try to talk about issues that are very important and issues whose effects are very real, because that's what inserting philosophy into real life is all about. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting this podcast and YouTube channel. Thank you for listening to the Insert Philosophy Here podcast. Please subscribe and go to insertphilosophyhere.com to see my other offerings. You can support the Insert Philosophy Here project with a donation at ko-fi.com. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.